Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the latest thread, Creative Spark. Um, we're going to share an image with you, our inspiration image, and there we go. It's very geometrical. Also, take a look at the different colors because, we can look at the shapes, but also at what the colors are doing for us in this image. So we're going to share with you what our creative spark led us to. And Sharon is going to share.
So, yep, this one's mine. And y'all know how much I love perfectly straight lines, right? I wanted to do it just freehand, and that one lives in the trash can now. So, but you'll also see on the next picture, Sharon, if this is with a ruler, and you'll see they're still not straight.
That's hard though. That's like
Yeah. So
did you draw the whole thing? Because
I just want to do it wiggly, and I would have been in my happy zone, but it, I don't know. I don't,
you could do that wiggly.
yeah.
I mean, the rule is, I thought that because I have a hard time, not using the ruler. But the rule is if you're consistently inconsistent, then it's okay. So you didn't need to use the ruler, because
Oh,
then there are wobbles throughout.
I should have taken a picture of the first one because wow, no, it was bad. It was
Well, but you made it hard for this design because they're on an angle that's
mhm.
much harder to maintain it being straight than if you were doing it horizontally or vertically. Yes, I know how to use my words. So,
No, you're using Karen's words now. So
yeah,
I don't know. I liked it small when I drew it. It was just tiny, and I think I should have stayed tiny, but it would have been a lot on this. Even though it was a 10-inch square, it would have been a lot. So I'm just not good with geometrically straight lines.
I do like how some of them are echoed, like doubled up, and then some of them are just single lines. That's
Well,
interesting to me.
Yeah.
That was
Yes.
the hopefulness of you won't notice how many of these are crooked because you'll be looking at the double lines.
But
I think if you did it freehand without the ruler in, say, a border and just put it on an angle like that, that could be a really interesting border of just, making those diagonal kind of lines.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really
Well,
nice looking.
I mean, I visualize that like it would go really good on something that was like, let's say, improvisationally pieced because they're never straight either.
Yeah.
Right? I
Right.
mean, there are all these weird shapes where you just sew things together. It would be kind of perfect for that, I
Yeah.
think. Because if you did something perfectly straight on a quilt like that, it would look odd.
Well, yeah, because you can't match up to their
No.
perfectly straight either. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is mine. I say it like that because I don't know why I picked green fabric, but I did.
Because there's green in the picture.
right.
There's
You
green in the
saw
picture.
there.
But I'm not a green. Well, not that green anyway. Yeah, so again, I really do kind of like this. Let's just mark something and then we'll see what happens kind of person. And so I did. It's just like an X randomly, and then I just start quilting. And it's not an actual quilt. So
I like it.
and I just
Mhm.
echoed and stitched. And then it needed something curvy because it was just too much straightness. And then I just used that slight, it wasn't the 2019 ruler. It was the other curve.
Curves and pearls.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yes, it was one. It was the smaller one, I believe. And then just did them, quarter inch, quarter inch. And I love how that makes it look like it like bows back and then
Mhm.
bows forward. It's really cool.
Well, but you also change direction. And so it looks like it's snaking behind those vertical lines.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then I got carried away and screwed up that X in the center. And I'm like, why did I do it? But I clearly wasn't going to rip that out.
Mm-mm.
No.
It looks like a windmill.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking, like a windmill over the
Mm-hmm.
those tulip
For the
fields, but before
fields.
the tulips bloom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Holland.
Holland,
It's
yeah.
a nice subtle curve there. It's not overpowering.
Yeah.
Right. I like the addition of the curve into the straight lines. I think it really looks nice.
mhm.
When you look at a crop and there's a lot of wind and you can see the wind actually just moving it, you can see like it's down and then it's up. That's what it's
Mhm.
giving that kind of
Yeah.
effect. It's kind of neat.
I think that may have been mine. Uh,
Go for
well,
it.
if nobody else speaks up, I've
Claim
got to
it.
claim it anyway.
Yes, it's yours.
Yeah, that was a tough one because to me, the image, there's just too much going on. Um, things going in different direction, different shapes all over the place. It was too much chaos in my head looking at that image. So I tried to simplify it somewhat, and that's what I came up with. And then here it is stitched and definitely not as chaotic as the picture. It's a lot more organized, but still by adding the zigzag in the center of that uneven crosshatch, I guess he would call it, um, still picking up some of the shapes within that original image.
I like that uneven crosshatch that, but it's still like plotted out. There's still like a section of 4 and then a big space and then a 4 and then a space. I like that.
Like a tartan.
Yeah. And Ava, I can't believe you didn't go in there on either side of that zigzag in the center and put pebbles or something in there because
You know what?
like Ava wants to fill it all.
You know me well, but and that's hard. That's actually one of my big challenges, not to overquilt everything. And I needed that to stand out. So no, I didn't add anything.
That is a hard thing to do.
Mhm.
I mean, I struggle with that. I know that
Mhm.
I want to put all this stuff in there, but usually when I do it, then I'm mad that I did it because
Yep,
I liked it. It just depends on what it's on, but
Yeah, and
sometimes just leaving it alone is like,
hard.
I go back
well,
and forth with that too, because it's a 10-inch square, and I'm like, yeah, I can do this. I can do the fill that I want because it's only a 10-inch square. You're not committed to any more than just this.
yeah.
Whereas on a bigger quilt, I tend to not do that because you're committed once you start.
Yeah.
I always go have the habit of I'll take a picture of it before I add the fill so I can see what did I do, and then usually I liked it without.
Yeah, I
That's
literally have to walk away and not think about it for a while. Not necessarily on something like that, but on a customer quilt that wants less density. And I literally have to walk away for some time, and then I take the clamps off and loosen it just to see, is it really not just gonna flounder around? Am I gonna be okay with it? And that's hard.
Yeah, that's good. Sometimes less is more and better.
This is what I marked out for mine. I think they're like 2.5 inches, 2 inches. I can't remember. So that's what I started with.
I mean, I had some digital sketches, but that's what I marked.
That's neat.
So that's what
Very
it
cool.
ended up with. And like you, Ava, I almost wanted to put some fill in those empty spaces, and I thought, no. So I had to walk away to make sure I didn't overdo it.
I like it. Yeah. That's really cool.
It's neat.
Mm-hmm.
In with the picture because it's very modern looking and very linear, just like the picture. It's really nice.
And I'm not a very modern linear person, so I had to push myself.
Well done then.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, this is mine, and I was looking at the linearness of this picture, but I decided that it needed extra stuff added into it, and it couldn't just be. I did go after the fill. I couldn't leave it alone. And again,
Oh.
on some pattern fabric. So you can see how it got lost in that pattern fabric. Even though I used contrasting thread, you can't really tell. So you can see the linear designs, but the ones that are like a swirl in there kind of got lost in the swirls of the fabric.
Mhm.
But I want to run my fingers across that matchsticking very much.
Yeah, it's another good example of, I mean, you see how well the lines show. It's pretty,
Okay, and this one is mine, and I did the same thing. I was like, no, I gotta fill all those spaces. But one of the things I like about doing things like this, and I love this picture for inspiration, because sometimes we get quilts that there are some strange spaces. Like I do a lot of quilt works, like Judy Niemeyer quilts for people, and a lot of strange applique where there's just like odd leftover spaces. And sometimes it's a good idea to challenge yourself to put designs in those spaces instead of just being like, here's a perfect square, here's a rectangle, here's a triangle, you know, strange angles and areas jutting in and out where you have to kind of think about your travel path that you're going through. So even just doodling, it's a really good kind of exercise on how to navigate through some of those spaces and fill them up, and what textures you're going to put in adjacent spaces, right? Like so that they do stand out from each other. Okay, so this is what I ended up stitching. I made less spaces than what I drew because when we're drawing it, you know, like everything in scale wise, once you go to stitch it out, you don't need to be that tiny and detailed. So I only made 4 spaces. But it was fun because I, you know, challenged myself to put those designs in those unusual spaces. And if you're quilting for other people, it's a good way to make little, you could cut out these 10-inch squares and make a little sample pad of designs to show people, what do you like for fills? Do you like this one? Do you like that one? And, you know, showcasing different fills that you can do, as well as different thread colors and things like that. So you can have lots of fun with playing with those spaces and just dividing them up with a random angle straight line and then have some fun.
I love those fills. Those are awesome.
Well,
like-
it gives you like, the more you do this stuff, like I was, when I first started doing, I did my first one and I was like, ugh, I have no other ideas. I have no other fills I can do. I'm like, what? Of course I do. And then by the time I was finished the 4th one, I was like, oh, I wish I had more spaces. So yeah, just keep moving with the creative ideas.
I like the one on the bottom right.
Yep, I do too.
It's almost like the topographical maps. That's what it
Mhm.
reminds me
Yeah.
of.
And you know that it's just a big meander, a single line meander through the space, and then just echoing on both sides until it's filled. Just the easiest thing to do ever.
I think I'd have to try it in matching thread though, probably. Because I think I'd be stuck somewhere in there.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of planning to go, okay, now when the space is closing up, I still have to get out somewhere. So again, it's a good exercise in planning your path to escape some of your spaces when you close yourself in. And that's the same thing with any fill design in any space, right? So yes, and that is all of them.
All right. Well, that was a nice variety. And here is a sneak peek at our next inspiration photo. So we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we cannot wait to see your pictures of inspiration that you're going to share with us. We're anxiously looking forward to it because we want to keep doing that, but it would be a lot more fun if we can also see what sparks your creativity. So till next time, bye.